This is Dr. Bill Robbins.
And I'm Dr. Eric Rindler.
And you're watching
the Best Practices Show ever.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the Best Practices Show, where we always take a look at the best business practices from the best dental practices all over the country. Today, I've got one of my favorite episodes of all time with two of my favorite people, and I'm not joking. Like, I love these guys, and you will too. And we're going to be talking about unlocking the secrets between the perio and restorative connection with two of the very best. You do not want to miss this. So do me a favor, grab a pen and hit the share button. But before we get started, a couple things. We are shooting this show. We're putting it on Facebook. So as you watch it, if you have questions, please add them to the feed. And you're going to see, we're going to do our best to give you the answers that you have to your most difficult questions, because we want you to get the most out of this. Now, and again, I'm just so crazy grateful. We get emails and notes every single day on things you guys want to see, and today is no exception. This is going to be awesome. Keep sending them to us, because we're going to do our best to line all of them up. Right now, we're at over 38,000 followers on Facebook. I don't even know how that happened. It's only been a year, and I've learned the secret, though. I just have great people on the show. I don't know anything, but you're going to see these guys know everything. And two of my favorite people in the whole world are my guests tonight, Dr. Bill Robbins and Dr. Eric Rindler. I'm going to have you guys tell your story, but I'm just telling you guys, if you haven't seen these guys, you have to see these guys, because you're going to love them as much as I do. But please, we got a lot of dental students watching this. We have some people sometimes that maybe don't know you guys. Can you tell us a little bit about who you guys are, where you practice, and what you do?
Okay. Well, first of all, Kirk, thanks for having us. We've done several of these with you, and this is one of my favorite things to do, because you're so much fun, and everybody knows that. So I'm Bill Robbins. I'm a restorative dentist in San Antonio. I was in academics for 25 years of my first 25 years of my life, and I've been private practice for the last 21. And that's what this story is about today. Eric, tell them your story.
I'm Eric Rindler. I'm a private practice periodontist, and I do some entrepreneurial things in my free time, and so it's kind of a lot of fun. But you're right. This is my favorite thing, and it's because I'm working with Bill on it, so it's super fun.
That's awesome.
Eric and I met, I don't know, probably 22, 23 years ago. He was a dental student at the dental school in San Antonio, and I was still full-time faculty at that point. And I was teaching in the graduate general dentistry program, and he was a dental student. And so he wasn't one of my residents, but I got to know him through a mutual friend, Dr. Jim Summit, who we both have a great deal of respect for. And so Eric and I became friends. And during the end of his junior year, he was trying to decide what to do with his life, and he was leaning towards doing a perio residency program. And he came to me, and we talked about it. And I've always had a real sweet spot in my heart for the whole area of periodontics. And so I was encouraging of him to do that, to go to graduate school, and he'll tell you where he went. And it just so happened that as he finished his graduate program and came back to San Antonio to set up his private perio practice, I left the dental school and went into a private restorative dentistry practice. And so even though I was the old guy in the team, we started in private practice exactly the same time and had exactly the same struggles. We had to borrow money and open up practices, and so we started out together, and that was the genesis of this great partnership that we've had over the last 20 years.
I'm actually taken back that, because I remember it so vividly, getting the courage to go talk to Dr. Robbins to see what he thought about me doing a perio residency, because he was teaching in the advanced education in general dentistry program. And I'm kind of touched that you remember that far back. Yeah. So I ended up doing perio. I went up to Kansas City, UMKC, and did my perio residency, and it was great. And I came back, and I thought I knew everything. And actually, there's a couple funny stories over dinner I'll share with you, Kirk. But I literally came back thinking I was the greatest thing. I went to doctors and said, "Hey, I'm the best periodontist you're ever going to get to work with." And luckily, a few people took me under their wings and set me in the right way. And one of the people as we talked about, was Bill, who was starting practice just at the time I was, and he had a little free time because he was starting practice. And so I ended up, after doing perio, learning how to do perio for the restorative dentist. Mm-hmm. And since then we've gone on and we've done, besides doing cases together, we teach this together, and it's super fun being able to do that. And every time we do it, I still learn more and more after 20 years of doing this.
When we first started together as a Perio-Restorative team, I had always been interested in the Perio-Restorative interface and biologic width and so on. But I was also really, one of the most fun things that I did in my practice was aesthetic crown lengthening. And Pat Allen had described that back in the late 80s, and it's something that I had been doing for quite a number of years by the time Eric got out of his graduate program. So I felt like I was reasonably accomplished at doing the aesthetic crown lengthening procedure, and it's something I was teaching my residents to do in the program at the dental school in San Antonio. So when Eric got out of his program, he had his technique for doing aesthetic crown lengthening, and I had mine, and I had evolved to a little bit different. And so we sort of grew up together, sharing our ideas about this specific procedure that we both enjoyed doing so much. And we sort of blended what he learned at UMKC with what I'd come up with and developed the technique that we teach today.
We're not going to give Kirk a chance to talk, are we? Because
No,
I'm going to go right into, it's really interesting, and I want to hammer home that point that so I approached it from a perio approach on how to do the inter-aesthetic perio surgery, the aesthetic crown lengthening, and Bill approached it from a restorative standpoint. And it's amazing how much I really did change my approach. And the reality is Bill changed his approach, and what we do now is totally different than what the little steps that they're basically the same, but the devil's in the details, and the details are so important and so different than the way we learned it.
I want to ask you guys, there's so many things I want to ask you. I want to talk about the importance of perio, because I don't think we can beat that drum enough in restorative dentistry. It's just a place we have to start. Also, I want to talk about the uniqueness of a true interdisciplinary team, because we've got a lot of dental students watching these, and they're getting glimpses of this, but they don't know what it's about. And I really want to talk about the relationship you guys have and how you have to have mutual trust. You got to have each other's back in this whole process. So go wherever you want to go, but those are 3 things I want to cover.
All right. So let me take it first. So it all goes back, and when we're talking about diagnosis, actually, to the system that Jeff Rouse and I developed over the last 20 years, which we call global diagnosis. And we've had a discussion, you and I, about this and best practices. And the global diagnosis system essentially tells us why the gingiva is in the wrong place. And that is my definition today of an interdisciplinary patient. And that is one whose gingiva is in the wrong place. And there's essentially only 4 reasons that occurs, and that's what the global diagnosis system teaches, is figuring out why the gingiva is in the wrong place. Because if it's wrong, then that patient is automatically an interdisciplinary patient, because I can't fix them with a burr. I have to have the help of a surgeon and or a periodontist. And or an orthodontist. And so this whole thing started with our understanding of interdisciplinary dentistry, which essentially means the tissue's in the wrong place. And obviously the periodontist is a pretty important part of the team when we're trying to get the gingiva in the wrong place in order to give the patient the function and the aesthetics that they want.
Hey, is there a link for the global diagnosis, the worksheet?
No.
Okay. So never mind. All right. So you said what makes an interdisciplinary team work. And I think the most important part is, we talk about the friendship, but that's a nice part of it. But the key is I can challenge Bill on anything. Mm-hmm. When he gives me a treatment plan, he's telling me what he thinks. And then I can look at it and I can ask him, why are you doing this? What about this? And almost always, how long have we done this?
Oh, yeah.
Almost always, either Bill changes his plan or I change mine. But, Bill works the case up. But because we have that open dialogue, I've been invited to challenge what he's doing, and he mine, and neither one of us digs in. So my first instinct isn't to defend what I'm doing. It's to listen to what he's doing, which isn't human nature.
Right.
So
One of Eric's great lines that he always quotes when we teach together is, none of us is as good as all of us.
I've heard him say that.
That's been our mantra. And of course, the person that's being left out of this discussion in some ways is the orthodontist, because when we're having this interdisciplinary discussion, clearly it's the restorative dentist, the orthodontist, the periodontist. And that's another discussion for another day. But today is about the relationship that Eric and I have. And as we grew together, doing the things that we enjoy doing, the two primary things that I did, that he did, he does lots more than I do because I don't place implants, but I was doing my own grafting and I was doing my own crown lengthening. And over the years, it became obvious to me that I was not going to be able to continue to do the grafting, the soft tissue grafting, with the skill set that he has. He's just a better surgeon than I am, and he does it more beautifully. So over the years, I grudgingly gave that up because I'm not going to do something in my practice that I can't do as well as a specialist does. And so I gave up the soft tissue grafting to Eric, and he does all of that for me today. And of course, that's what he teaches in the course. So what I teach in the course is the aesthetic crown lengthening component of it, and what he teaches is the soft tissue grafting component of it.
it's interesting. Bill mentioned the tissue grafting part, but Kirk was going to try to talk. Stop that. So the soft tissue grafting part, it's interesting because in my experience with practice, the guys who know how to do it refer me so much of it, and the guys who have never seen it, never done one, they don't refer much of it. And so it's an example of you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
once people get a little exposure, then suddenly it becomes a big part of their practice, whether they're choosing to do cases or referring them out or saying, hey, these are the good cases for me to do, and these are the ones to send out.
Yeah.
We do have quite a number of people, because I don't know, Eric and I bet we've taught this course 15 times probably and through the years. And we have quite a number of restorative dentists that contact us over these last few years and tell us how much they appreciate being able to do not only the crown lengthening, but also the grafting procedure. So many of the people that have taken our courses, the restorative dentists that have taken the courses, have certainly done both of these procedures in the practice with great success.
Well, it's super fun, and it changes up the monotony for the guys who don't do it all the time to go do it. All right, so it's time for a story. So Bill called me about 6 months ago.
Story time. Okay.
He says, hey, I'm going to Canada, and I need some of the instruments because I'm going to do a little hands-on exercise.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a little crown lengthening course in Canada, and so they said, the people that were up there said, you know, we should probably mail the instruments, because if you get them in customs, you may have trouble getting them through and so on. So, okay, yeah, no problem. So we load these instruments up. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars worth of instruments. One of these kits is expensive, and I load them up in a box, and we insure them for like $5,000. And so this box of instruments gets to the customs in Canada, and they see that it's $5,000, and so they put it up on the shelf. And so this box clearly doesn't get to the place in time for the course, and so we have to fake that part of it. And so I call the guy up and I say, my instruments haven't come back. And he said, well, you can either bust them out with $5,000, or you can just sit around and wait. And eventually the Canadians will get tired of having it on their shelf, and they'll send it back to you. And sure enough, 5 months later, one day this box of instruments showed back up at home. So we're good to go on our course. Yeah. We got all our instruments back, and we're ready to go.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. That is so fun. No, I love stories, but I want to ask you guys, because I'm just going to throw you the curveballs that I get. Now, your relationship is very unique. Now, there's going to be some young dentists watching this going, so easy for you guys to say, I live in a small town. It's hard to find somebody else on a team like this. And I would just say this, I'm going to be proactive and say it takes self-awareness to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, but it also takes a certain level of trust. What would you say to a dentist watching this going, hey, look, easy for you guys to say, I can't find a specialist that I could work in conjunction with. Speak to that.
Okay, so being a general dentist in a small town is the highest calling that God has given to the dental profession. So there's nobody out there like the small town general dentist who has to serve that population to the best of his or her ability. It's that person that I've got the greatest respect of all across the board of dentistry. And so having said that, that general dentist who's having to take care of the needs of that population is going to have to get a different skill set than the general dentist that lives in the big town, like I do. I mean, I've got Eric down the street. He can do things for me. But the general dentist who lives in the small town in Texas and has to take care of the needs of his patients, obviously the number one thing he or she needs to do is to improve their skill set and broaden what they offer to that population. And of course, then the other issue is getting a study club. If you have to drive, then you have to drive. But in order to become a higher end dentist, you essentially have to be part of an interdisciplinary study club, in my opinion.
Yeah. Eric, what about the mind of a specialist? Well, how would you answer that question?
Yes, I agree.
No, give us some more perspective. Come on.
No, I mean, the truth is, I do agree with Bill, and the isolated practitioner, by his understanding the procedures and doing them, he actually becomes a better referral, right? Because, my best referring doctors know how to do the procedures that they really send me a lot. Right. Although we're not talking about functional crown lengthening, the guys who used to do a lot of functional crown lengthening, they're the only people who refer crown lengthening because they know how it makes their life better. Same thing with tissue grafts. So I strongly encourage those guys to know how to do these procedures, but also to work with the specialist to communicate. And just like we're doing right now, look, I'm at my house, Bill's at his house, and you're in where the heck do you live now? In Packerville,
Montana. No. I'm in Milwaukee in my home. So
yeah. So, but I mean, we don't even have to be together with telemedicine, with technology. Reports can be electronic with photos, and all of it is effortless now. It's a matter of pushing a button and saying, "Hey, get Dr. Periodonis on the phone. I want to show him this case I have in the chair right now." Yeah. So it doesn't matter if I'm next door, across town. I know Bill works with people all over the state and country. Whether they're next door doesn't really matter anymore.
Absolutely. And Bill, can I ask you a pointed question? Because you said this before we went on the broadcast. It really comes down to an authentic shared interest in periodontal surgery. So I want you to talk about, as a restorative dentist, we kind of pointed to this, but how much better are you a restorative dentist now that you have an authentic interest in perio-surgery?
Okay, so I think it's important to say that I don't believe that to be a really great restorative dentist, you have to do your own periodontal surgery. I'd never want that to be the premise of this. However, I will say that having done much of my periodontal surgery through the years as a restorative dentist, it has given me, first of all, that which the restorative dentist can do in his or her office without referring out, patients are much more likely to accept. So a lot more perio gets done when the general dentist can do it rather than having to refer it, because then the specialist has to develop a relationship with the patient. There's a cost of the exam. There's developing the new relationship. And so I found through the years, my friends, the restorative dentists who do a fair amount of their own periodontal surgery, especially aesthetic crown lengthening and the grafting, soft tissue grafting, it gets much more of it done. The patient is ultimately the real beneficiary of it. I mean, it's cliche to say that I'm a better restorative dentist because I do my own periodontal surgery or some of my own perio surgery. And clearly that's true because I really understand the biologic width at a restorative / perio interface level. And so it's not just an academic understanding of the biologic width. I've got a real hands-on understanding of what works and doesn't work because I've been incorporating both the surgery and the restorative dentistry now for more than 30 years. So clearly, it makes the restorative dentist better if he or she has the skills to do the surgery. But that's not the real premise. The premise is that the restorative dentist must understand biologic width at more than a textbook level. And we put a great deal of emphasis on operationalizing an understanding of biologic width in our course.
Mm-hmm. And Eric, can you speak to that? Like, I want to know when you hear Bill say that, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting. Because I see some of the Bill's cases for aesthetic crown lengthening as well, right? So Bill does it, and Bill does it as well, if not better than anybody. But think of the pressure on me when I'm doing one of Bill's cases, right? So I will tell you, we mark out a little extra time. I'd like to say I do the same great job on every patient, but the reality is, I know he's grading it a little different because he's looking at, well, why didn't I just do it myself? Mm-hmm. And so I'd like to think we always give our best effort, but the reality is there's a subconscious part of it that maybe makes us look at it one more time, maybe makes us take pictures during the surgery, go look at it on the computer, walk around and come back with fresh eyes. And that's because if they do it, they're evaluating it a little bit differently. The other thing is the information he gives me when I'm doing the case is at a higher level also, because he may say, hey, notice this, this, and this when you do your surgery. So it makes it better and more fun for me as a specialist to see someone who's doing some of their own cases. And if I get a great outcome on a case that he thought was going to be a dog, I look like a superstar. My cases always look better than Bill's.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So here's the other important part for the restorative dentists that are listening to this, and that is, and I think Eric already said this once, it needs to be said again, and that is everybody needs to know what their limitations are. And when Eric said he does some of my crown lengthening, that's absolutely true. The ones that he commonly will do for me are the ones that something else it needs to be done. And commonly that's surgically facilitated orthodontic treatment, where there's going to be a lot of osteotomy cuts. There's going to be a lot of bone grafting. It's a much bigger deal. Those commonly are the ones that I'll ask Eric to do. So it's important, and we emphasize this in the course, that you develop your skills and you understand what your limitations are. And when you get to a circumstance past your limitations, then that's where you call on your specialist. For example, a very difficult place to do a connective tissue graft is thin tissue in the lower incisors. And Eric will talk about that. He will show participants how to do it. And he will then say, but this is not the one you start with. Okay, this is hard. So don't start with this one. Set yourself up for success. Start with one that you're going to have a predictable success with.
Yeah, that's actually case selection. So if we're talking about the course, case selection on your first few cases determines if you incorporate this into your practice long-term. And so often we'll ask participants, hey, bring some cases that you think you may want to treat. And we can actually talk about those cases and help them determine what are the good starting cases, what are going to be the difficult cases, what to avoid, how you may make modifications. But the more people do a better job, the better job people do with their first few cases with case selection, the more likely they are to make this a routine part of their practice. But the learning curve, once you've done a few of them, you really get pretty comfortable pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. I have a million questions I want to ask you guys, and I know he'll get you. But Bill, I ask you this. It's repetitive, but I love your answer. Has there ever been a better time to be a dentist? I ask you that all the time.
You know, when I lecture to study clubs now, which I do most Fridays, it's commonly the Seattle Study Club or some other study club, and almost always, Kirk, I'm the oldest guy in the room, which is interesting because it was just yesterday when I was the youngest guy in the room, and now I'm the oldest guy in the room.
You're the oldest guy in the room today, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't very nice, Eric.
Probably on this old podcast, I'm the oldest guy. But one of the things I routinely say every Friday when I'm lecturing is this is the most exciting time to be a dentist ever. And I think it's so exciting because, first of all, the opportunities to treat these patients with our newer materials and all is so exciting. And the second reason is the technology. And even though I'm an old guy, I am so excited about the technology and the digital smile design and all of the other opportunities we have today to do it so much better. So yes, I have some regret that I'm coming into the twilight of my career, and I'm serious when I say this because there's never been a better time to practice dentistry, for sure.
Yeah. Eric, what are your thoughts about this time in dentistry, even for specialists?
So when I finished dental school and I looked at everything a general dentist had to do, right, all of this stuff, I thought, oh, there's too much. I think I'm going to just be a periodontist because a periodontist only does like 6 things. It's like falling into a black hole, and it's endless amounts of stuff. And so I say, all right, I'm going to focus on perioplastic surgery. And then you get into that, and it's endless amounts of volume. And anything you go into ultimately has an infinite amount of information. So what's happening in dentistry is kind of exciting because, whatever area of you want to focus on, there's so much happening. There's so much information. You can really become a a specialist in any area. I mean, not the term specialist. You can do a deep dive into any area of dentistry, and there's so many areas that are so exciting.
As usual, Eric's talking in hyperbole again. There are not 6 things that a periodontist does. There are only 3.
Right.
Periodontists can add tissue, subtract tissue, and place implants. That's the only 3 things periodontists do. Let's make a list of what general dentists can do.
Drink water.
Have we got another hour to talk about what general dentists do?
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious.
On the side.
You're hearing it first from 2 of the masters, unfiltered, uncensored.
So I have to agree. He refers me my patient, so I have to agree with him.
Yeah, that is so funny. That is so funny. Now, okay, gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you, but let me give you the tough questions. Okay, so here's one that I get all the time. You know, Kirk, people say, Kirk, dentistry is isolating. Like, I can sit here, I watch this education, I can actually grow depressed in some of these things. So if you have a young dentist watching this, what are you pushing him out of the way?
You got isolated.
Yeah. Well, you know how this works. All of us can feel isolated growing a business sometimes, and you're feeling unknown. What would you say to these younger kids or younger practitioners that are getting going? And it's kind of like a redundant question, but I really want to get into this, is you guys are 2 world-class educators. And I'm going to start by saying, look, you got to put yourself in a room where you can feel it. You can see it. You go, I can see where this could go right now. So if you're even contemplating about going, you just got to go and be with these guys. Right. But what would you guys say?
So I'm going to say the most important thing to the young guys is pick great mentors.
Right.
Let them know that you're wanting them to mentor you. And the mentor-mentee relationship isn't one-sided. It's not like, hey, Bill, mentor me and give me information. Yeah. It requires me to put effort out to receive the mentoring. So pick great mentors. Go to great courses with great instructors. For me, going and seeing John Coy's right when I finished my residency, what a great thing that I bumbled into. Oh, do y'all know the story about that? Have I told you that?
No, tell me.
So I love stories. So I was starting private practice, teaching at the school part-time, and Bill comes up to me, Bill Robbins, I don't know if y'all have heard of him. Bill comes up to me and says, hey, Rindler, there's a guy named John Coy's in Seattle, and he's teaching a course on the Perio-Restorative interface. Okay. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. And Bill says, no, really. Everybody always says, yeah, I want to go, but they don't really mean it. Do you really mean it? And he just kind of stared at me. So I was now obligated to go because my mentor, my friend, and at that point, it was truly, I was, like the little kibbles a bits, running around just excited that Bill wanted to do this. And so I called Dr. Coy's. So
I love that.
You did not. And you got him on the phone?
So I called John. Yeah, if you call him, he'll answer. So I called Dr. Coy's and I said, Dr. Coy's, one of my faculty members who's now, we're doing some cases together, has encouraged me to come take your Perio-Restorative interface course. I don't think that he understands that I'm a periodontist. And is there really anything that I'm going to learn in your course?
Oh, what did he say? Well, I'm curious.
John was so great. He basically said, well, I'm proud of you for showing some interest. And why don't you come to the course? And if you don't learn anything new, you'll just get your money back and go home. And he made it so easy for me to go. It was one of the milestones in my career and my life, attending that, because I learned. I went with a great friend, a great mentor. I saw somebody who was another great and worthy mentor and who understands what it really means to be a mentor, because he didn't feel that we just took his course. He wanted to make sure that we got it and used it, and he's available. And 20 years later, he's available to me.
Yeah, and here's the other part of that course. They developed such a wonderful friendship that John actually talked to him about coming out and being a periodontist at one point in the past. So we're both grateful for the wonderful friendship we have with John. He's been a wonderful mentor to both of us.
Yeah, and continues to be.
Yep.
So
amazing.
Yeah. So the number one thing is pick a great mentor, and the number two is understanding that relationships aren't just, hey, you work in an office with these 6 guys or whatever, but it actually requires effort. once again, to put out and develop the relationships and work on the relationships, and not just sort of superficial relationships, but go and learn together, take classes together, go to study club together, and don't just sit there passively. Become actively engaged. And you don't have to participate with the instructor, but talk to your friends about what you're learning and make it an active process.
Yeah. And I can speak for firsthand, like if you come to San Antonio and you're with these guys, there's a lot of hugging going on. It's really good fellowship time. I mean, if I come to San Antonio, can I have a margarita with you guys? Like, I mean, you guys hang out with these people. You're not just giving them information in the same vein. You care about these guys and gals, and you watch them grow. And so it's a pretty special thing. Now, you guys do a lot of education, and you've got this course coming up, and there's only a few spots available. Can you talk about it? Like, if I'm watching this, why would I want to take this course? We're going to post a link to it. Tell us what's going to happen. It's in San Antonio. It's on September 21st and 22nd. That's a Friday, Saturday. What happens in this course?
It's the most fun course for a participant to take and to teach, because so much of it is hands-on.
Okay.
You're really learning surgical principles. So you'll go back and do aesthetic crown lengthening and tissue grafting, but the stuff we're going to teach you applies to all surgery you do. And it just allows you to become a better surgeon, but it's so much fun because we actually do suturing exercises. It's just fun. And the joy in watching people do it. We do surgery on the best model for tissue grafting.
But don't tell them what it is.
Ever. It's
so you're going to keep it hanging, huh?
It's so real. And then after an exhausting day of the first day, right, and Bill recaps the core diagnosis. So you become good at diagnosing. You become good at case selection. You have the skills to do it. We actually do live hands-on surgeries on each other. I'll actually do a tissue graft on Bill while Bill's doing an aesthetic crown lengthening on me.
Exactly.
It's not really. So
that would be amazing. We got to film that one.
But we'll actually all do a tissue graft on a patient that's there live. Everybody's in the operatory. We keep it small enough that people can actually get in there, see, and then Bill will do an aesthetic crown lengthening. And if he has trouble, I'm there to finish up the case for him.
Yeah, like the resident that you call in to close. That's how we do it. The other thing that we really emphasize in this course is the diagnostic part of it. And I talked about it earlier, but I can't overemphasize how important a real operational understanding of biologic width is for the restorative dentist. And it's my belief that very few have an operational understanding of it. Yeah. So we will start talking about biologic width, and it's our belief that there are 4 different types of biologic width that we have to deal with. And without a clear understanding of that, you can't build any perio-restorative interface interaction or partnership. And so it has to be a common language between the restorative dentist and the periodontist, and that's what we're going to provide for them. Not only the clinical skills, but also the diagnostic skills to understand biologic width.
Right. And you guys, we've all been together, and it's Seattle Study Club Symposium. This was mentioned no less than 3 times. There is multiple treatment plans, but there's only one true diagnosis. Who said that? Was that Amsterdam who said that?
Yeah, more in Amsterdam. Yeah.
It was a periodontist who said that.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Now, here's why I'm saying this. Bill, I can speak this, and I'm just not just saying this. Your diagnostic system and what you created, it is a yes or no thing. It is not a gray area thing. You're talking about one of the best restorative dentists in the world that gives you a defined system step by step by step that helps you be a world-class clinician that gets you fast past that first hurdle.
We're talking about global diagnosis and all that, but it's really the gummy smile. I mean, we haven't said it, but it's really, if you're listening to this and you're trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about, it's identifying the gummy smile and why is it gummy,
right?
And which is an easy one to fix and which is a hard one to fix. And if you fix a hard one with what you think's an easy solution, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And so Bill gives us the tools to diagnose and be able to make great outcomes for patients predictably.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts on this before we say goodnight to everybody?
My only final thought is that you're the best.
You're the best.
Oh,
Now, you guys, I love you guys. And obviously it's 6:21, so my brain functioning isn't the best but I love being with you guys. You guys teach me something every single time. You're amazing teachers, amazing clinicians, but what's even better is you're even more amazing people. So I'm just grateful for our relationship, grateful for you guys. And if you guys haven't had a chance to be with these guys, take advantage of it because they're two of the best ever. So cool. So we're going to post the links to the shows, or not to the shows, to the courses. Check those out. If you're listening on iTunes, check the body of the actual show itself. You're going to see links to that. And then Bill, give us your website again, because what was your website?
RobbinsDDS.com. So it's ROBBINSDDS.com.
All right. So if you're listening on iTunes, you can go there and then go to a tab that says Teachings, and you will see the course right there. You can download the PDF and check it out. So I hope you check it out. So you guys stick around while we say goodnight to everybody else. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this show, which I know you did, do us a favor, just hit the share button, share with your friends. Keep sending us suggestions. I'm going to keep getting these guys back for things that you want to see from them. And until we see you next time, keep watching the Best Practice Show. You guys have a great evening.